All right, all right. Hello and welcome, everybody. We're here, we're live. It's the main event for the Energy Slapfest. I'm CrackedyHere, and I'm being joined today by Matisse once again. Welcome, everybody. How you doing, Matisse?
Yo, I'm extremely excited. The matches we have today are gonna be so good. Last week we just had a appetizer, and there is a main dish today.
Exactly. Qualifiers were already very, very heated. We saw some amazing upsets. To name one of them, for example, we had CSO actually beating Louis MT. So there were some pretty big upsets there as well. And yeah, now we have Lucifron actually fighting off versus Louis MT. I'm not sure how exactly it worked, but I think CSO actually going in through the winners bracket and Louis MT going in through losers bracket probably screwed some stuff over with the seeding. Because we have some very stacked groups, right?
Yeah, it isn't really screwed. It's just the way it was designed, you know. So
it's the way it works, right? Like it's not what we
yeah,
expected, but
that's
that
true.
just means
Yes.
that the group phase is going to be even more brutal for some players.
Yeah, I would say that Group B is completely insane. You've got Valdemar, you've got Louis, you've got Lucifron, and you've got who's the last one? Let me check very
You have
quickly.
B as well. 3DB is in that
And
group as
B,
well.
exactly. So on one hand, so what I like about this group, it's not only that it's ridiculously stacked, that's for sure. But on top of this, all the three players who are so good that how good they are, on top of this, they're all extremely aggressive, right? Like Lucifron is literally synonymous with executing people in early Castle Age. Then you've got B with insane aggression as well, and then you've got Louis with the insane Chinese aggression. So this is going to be the most explosive group that we even hoped for. Although everything else, every other group is also very strong. So I think we've got so many good matches today. I can't even. It was not so easy to pick them because there's so many good games coming.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I gotta say, I'm very excited to see how CSO is gonna perform in this tournament as well. Like we saw him beating Louis MT. Now he's in a group with Magic, Marine Lord, Nugify, which is also a little bit of a head scratcher because Nugify had a really good performance in the tournament as well. So yeah, he did really well. Demu, true. If I recall correctly, yeah, Demu he already played his set against Anaton, so he's got a
Yesterday.
little bit of a head start there. Yeah. So right now he's in the driver's seat. He's leading in his group D. Yeah, these are some amazing players that we have here today, and yeah, we're starting out strong with Lucifron versus LuMT. Very excited for that. Can we actually check in on them? Are the drafts? I think the drafts are happening right now at the moment. So soon we'll be able to see exactly what civilizations our players have picked for today for the first for their set and what maps as well, because we do have a lot of really cool maps. We got a lot of new maps with the expansion, with the new season and whatnot. So there's a lot of very interesting matchups, especially with all the new civilizations that we got. This is like the first, I would say, first like bigger tournament right now that we've got going on in the new season with all the new civilizations at a moment in time where I want to say where the players have started really figuring out all the civilizations. I think we now are at a point where the meta really starts settling in. Every now and then we get like some upsets where there's a matchup that we've not seen too often. Somebody tries something really exceptional. But I think in most situations, the meta is like in a really good spot right now, settling in, and people, for the most part, really know how to react to what their opponents are doing right now.
For sure. Although, how many matchups do we have right now in the game? Probably
It's a
up to
lot.
200 or something like that, maybe 150, something like that. So I'm pretty sure nothing is really fully figured out because, in my experience, when I grind one civilization, this takes me a month or a month and a half to have a decent grasp on how I'm supposed to play this civilization against any others, right? So if we've got this many matchups, I still feel like we are going to see a lot of improvisation, and we are still at the point in the meta where people who are extremely good at adapting, I think, have the advantage, and especially also maybe aggressive ones, right? Because defensive timings, they take longer to develop because there has to be aggression first that comes, and then you react to that aggression. So I feel like we will mostly see a lot of aggression first, and those players who are good at adapting and aggression should most likely thrive.
Exactly. Now, we can see the draft has happened. We got Lucifron picking English, Malians, and the Delhi. Meanwhile, we have Louis MT with a little bit of an interesting name that he picked in the in the
Mhm.
Age of Empires draft selection screen and got kind of imported over. He picked Japan, Ottomans, and Rus.
Ooh.
I gotta say, like Louis civilizations here, they're looking really strong. I absolutely love Japan. I've been playing them a lot recently. Then we got Ottomans, which like everybody at this point in time knows that Ottomans, they're super super strong. They even got like a little indirect buff in the last patch where now it takes 9 Springles in order to get rid of 1 Great Bombard. It's absolutely insane. And then Rus, which is probably arguably still one of the top civilizations at the moment.
Yeah, I would like to notice or point out maybe the bands that are completely different. So it seems maybe we are encountering some kind of Chinese meta situation here where they just think that Ottoman and Rus are possibly better because in Europe, I guess sushi or maybe even Joanna are considered extremely, extremely strong, right? But here, while the picks are exclusive, which means one player picks one and the other can't pick it, so we don't really know exactly what they think about the civs that they want to pick because they sometimes just pick the civs that they are left. But they're free to ban anything they want. So it seems to me like Louis possibly thinks that Ottoman and Rus are the strongest civs still, while in Europe we clearly everyone whines about sushi, right? So maybe in China they don't think so. I guess Rus and Ottoman, especially Ottoman, is really good at aggression, and Chinese meta is a bit more about aggression. While sushi, I would say, is still I still at top level. I think it's rather defensive civ. I don't think it's the civ that you always all in with, at least not in some matchups. So I feel like we've got some very interesting approach here from two sides, and then we also have Lucifron with Delhi Peak, which is Delhi's Lucifron is at this point is pretty much legendary.
Exactly. Him and his brother, probably the best Delhi players right now in the game. Vortex and Lucifron, absolutely amazing whenever they whip out the Delhi. And something else to take note of is that Louis picked the civilizations that he banned. Meanwhile, Lucifron, he didn't pick any of the civilizations that he banned. So even though maybe he thinks that these civilizations are strong, he himself doesn't pick those. Maybe it's more like, okay, he knows which civilizations he's really strong against, and just or which civilizations he has trouble with dealing with, and just bans those out and still picks civilizations that he's comfortable with. So a little bit of a different ban style as well.
And there's Papipo in my chat who says that Otto and Rus are Canadian bands, and so that is maybe the brothers plus Magic. We'll see. We'll
Maybe
see.
they were
Very
training a little
interesting.
bit. Yeah,
Mhm.
it could be. Could be that there's some influence there from Canada. I definitely agree with the bans from Louis' side. Not so much with
Really?
Lucifron's side. Yeah, I think Ottomans are just insane, absolutely insane at the moment. And Ruse still very, very strong. And we can see now first matchup is going to be coming in. It's going to be on Cliffside, where we'll be having Lucifron on the Malians and Louis on the Ruse.
Yep. And in this matchup, who do you think has advantage on this matchup? I would normally maybe even pinpoint Malians, but since on this map there's so much food in the middle of the map, you can even take 2 boars, you can take deer, you can there's a lot of deer, you can even take opponent's deer. So this might mean that Rus is actually quite decent here. So I absolutely don't feel like any civ is favored here, and I think this could be explosive and extremely interesting matchup. And we also have to note that Lucifron plays Malians differently than most people. He doesn't go for cow boom so often. He
True,
likes the
yeah.
Farimba style. So maybe he's going to try to compete for the resources with just fast age up to H3. So this could be extremely interesting game. And Louis has many choices. He can go aggressive, he can go defensive. So I have no clue how this is literally on this map and in this matchup with these players. I have no clue what's gonna happen. No clue.
Something that I think very likely is going to be happening. So Louis with the Ruse, I think Ruse fortified walls on the map Cliffside are super, super strong. But just because the map is
For sure.
already kind of split into, and being able to like chop those segments up even further or like deny segments of that with the Ruse fortified walls can be really strong. You get a really strong defensive landmark early on with the Kremlin. And yeah, overall, I think Ruse are probably in a really good position here on this map specifically. Malians, if they can take map control, as you said, with the Farimba especially, there's so much gold in the middle of the map. Like throughout these entire cliffs, there are so many different gold spots. That could allow Lucifron to just keep on piling on more and more units. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly this will play out. This is definitely an interesting matchup. I think Ruse, if they're able to get their second TC up, which like Ruse is like probably the best civilization to go 2 TC with the defensive landmark, there's not a lot that you can do to deny the second TC. If they go 2 TC, Lucifron is definitely going to have to be the aggressive player here in this one. And I think that's a role that suits him well. So we'll have to see if Louis is going to be able to hold here with the Ruse.
Yeah, and by the way, for everyone's information, and our graphics were made by Angelica Asa, and we are extremely happy about them. Look at this logo; it's so nice. There's even some sheep at in the middle of the background. Like the scout is carrying 3 sheep. So we really thank her for the amazing work she did. And
yeah, and Cow as well with the overlays. Like,
yeah,
look at the quality that we have here right now. So a big step up from the qualifiers, and this is really signifies that this is the main event. This is where it's at. And yeah, thank you so much to everybody who was involved in helping us put this together. It's looking absolutely amazing right now. Just all the graphics and the entire setup as well. So thank you very much, Angelica and Cow.
The help from Cow is just invaluable. He is also helping with adminning in the background, so I was able to focus on the casting last week as well because of him. So huge round of applause for Cow, and yeah, let's go.
All right, let's see. Game number 1 is gonna be starting very soon. We got a countdown right now, so 2 minutes 45-ish seconds remaining, and yeah, just a little bit left. I mean, I would also not be surprised if in this specific matchup, I could also see Lucifron just going for the normal cow boom. Like, we know that he's able to, like, that's like one of the great things with Lucifron. Vortex, I would say, like 9 out of 10 times, he would also go for the Faremba Garrison. But I think that's like where Lucifron kind of differs a little bit from his brother. I think more than his brother, he's able to adapt to like different playstyles, different situations. While Vortex would pretty much every time go for like all-in aggression, Lucifron sometimes knows that, okay, maybe in this situation, a more tactical approach is probably better. Like, he's still going to play aggressive, don't get me wrong. But he knows, okay, maybe now is time to like get off the gas pedal a little bit, go a little bit more into my economy, and then reinforce again, and then go for a really big push. Which is something that I really, really like when I see Lucifron plays. Like, he doesn't miss out on his technologies. He goes for stuff like the eco upgrades and whatnot really, really early on, just because he knows that it's going to help him long term. And yeah, he doesn't like really go all in, but he can go all in. Like, it's very flexible with him.
I think you kind of have to assume that he will go all in, but if it's suboptimal to go all in, then he won't go all in, right? So in general, I would say that Age of Empires 4 is rather a game that favors defending. So he tries to create moments and create situations in which he can all in, right? And also it's very dependent on the civilizations that you pick, right? Because Delhi, clearly aggressive civ, right? Malians can be aggressive civ, English can also be aggressive civ, so it really depends, but he creates as many opportunities to be aggressive as possible.
Exactly. Countdown ticking down further and further. Just a little bit remaining. In the meantime, just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in, for watching the tournament here over on my channel and on Matthias' channel. Thank you so much for Energy for hosting this and sponsoring this tournament. It's all very much appreciated. And yeah, once again, like if this tournament does really well and we get like a good amount of viewer numbers in this tournament, then this might turn into a series where we get a couple more of these Energy Slap Fests coming in. And the goal is maybe that in the end we might actually be able to host a $5,000 tournament towards the end. All that said, I think it's time to go into our game number 1 between Lucifron and Louis MT.
By the way, before we start, I just want to report for this, what you just said, is that for the qualifiers, Energy was generally very happy how it went. So I would say the chances of the circuit rose. I'm not saying nothing is confirmed yet, but he was pretty happy. So if we keep it up, I would say there maybe is a chance we're going to see more.
All right. Okay. It's time to go. The countdown has reached 0. Any moment now, we'll be going into our game number 1 between Lucifron and Louis MT.
Yeah, I already hear the sheep being gathered. Okay, perfect.
All right, there we go. Yeah. Here we are, spawning in the color red. We got Louis MT playing as the Ruse. On the other side, we got Lucifron playing as Somalians. I think we gotta change the yeah, there we go. We're changing the Civ logos right now between, well, not Civ logos, but like the country logos where they're from. Louis MT already finding a couple of deer here very early on. We got actually the split view here. Look at that. Now we can see both these player scouts right now out on the map. seeing
See,
their
the
scout pattern.
technology is pretty nice for this. Super happy about this as well. And yeah, and it's worth noting that animal canceling is back. So with Roost, it's going to be extremely animation canceling is back. So with Roost, it's going to be extremely important. So we have to observe how actually Lucifer is struggling a tiny bit with animation canceling. Maybe too much Stormgate. Maybe he didn't really practice Roost that much. I have to say that this animation canceling feels a bit different than it was before. So I also struggle a little bit here and there.
I think it depends on the ping sometimes. Like, I feel in some games it's very, very easy for me to do animation canceling to pull it off. And then in some games it's like, okay, I want to click, but nothing's happening. And yeah, you gotta be careful with the animation canceling because sometimes when you go for it, you might actually incur a cooldown, like a little bit of like an animation penalty if you do it incorrectly. And then you just got one detect for like a second and a half.
Yep, exactly, exactly. All right, so what do we have? So for now, the main question is how many sheep is Lucifer gonna get, right? Because Roos actually really gets a lot of them, but it's very interesting. Actually, this is very big move from Lucifer. He's going behind the base of Roos. So this is a huge gamble because obviously Roos usually has 2-3 scouts, which means that they can grab all these sheep that he has. But he didn't. Louis didn't scout in the back. Maybe Lucifer even analyzed the replays of Louis and noticed that he doesn't really do that. But it's quite a big gamble to try to take Roos sheeps, and the gamble paid off. So right now it seems the number of sheep could be equal or very similar to both players, and that's massive because as Roos you are quite vulnerable when it comes to sheep, and you want as many of them as possible because then you just run out of food if you don't have many of them. So that means, and while Malians they can have cows and stuff like that, so they don't care that much about the sheep. So if Lucifer managed to have even the same number of sheep as Roos, that's already quite a big victory for Lucifer in my opinion.
It might be, but at the same time, I think Louis actually got very, very good results on the individual deer cam. So I'm not sure how his bounty is right now. It's probably not bad, considering that right now he has 200 gold remaining after age up. If he didn't go for that lumber camp, he could already like be researching wheelbarrow right now. Age up coming in from both players now. No surprise, we got the Kremlin and the Manzaquari. I really like the positioning from the Kremlin from Louis. Sometimes I see players like, sure, maybe sometimes the resource for Rus are in the back, and then they place the Kremlin in the back. I think on this map, having the Kremlin forward always is super, super nice since it immediately spawns in with all the upgrades. So you have a huge line of sight. Them. Look at that stone. That stone mine's a little bit hard to access there.
Yep. Yeah, and this Kremlin actually limits the possibility of aggression by a lot, right? So it's very nice. It covers wood, it covers gold, super nice. And on top of this, it's very close to the middle, so there's always a base to attack from to the contest sacred site. So with a Kremlin like this, I would say winning through sacred site is going to be extremely difficult for Lucifron.
Looking at the sacred site distribution, it's also not like sometimes we've seen very, very scuffed sacred sites on this map. This time, I think they're pretty fairly distributed between all the players that we got here. So these sacred sites look kind of nice. It's definitely a possibility to go for a sacred site victory here.
Yeah, and they're also very close to each other, which is very interesting because quite often I would say they're very spread out, but here they are very close to each other. So if you manage to get a keep in the middle, you kind of even control all of them at the same time.
True, they're fairly close to each other, but there's always these cliffs in between, so it's kind of tough to correctly judge the distance. Man, these 3 scouts, they can be really, really... I've actually noticed that 3 scouts are enough to take down outposts if you build with like 5 villagers before it's fully built.
Yeah, that's massive. That's huge. And here this is actually costing a lot because there's villager not gathering. That's 40 per minute, right? Then on top of this, repairing costs a little bit as well. Maybe not much, but maybe around 40 as well. So this is, if this lasts for a minute or two, that could add up to even 150, maybe 200 resources. So that's actually quite a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Behind that, we see Louis now also going for a second TC. Lucifron dropping his first production building is going to be the barracks. Definitely wants to do something about these scouts just being very, very annoying here right now. We don't see any moves towards another pit mine yet, so that's where the barracks is kind of like delaying him potentially a little bit. We also see the bounty now for Louis. Look at that, 285 bounty, definitely not bad for him. So he does have the tier 2 bounty that came in. Wheelbarrow also researched. Our Broadex has been researched as well. Lucifron's just now getting that. Overall, I'm favoring Louis so far when it comes to his current spot in the game. Like early on, he's got everything that he needs right now to go for like the second TC as he's doing right now, going over onto the deer. And yeah, his economy looks to be in a very, very good spot right now.
Yep, and on top of this, he forced Lucifer to go barracks into probably Donzos as well, right? So that's quite huge because as Malians, you either want to rush H3 or you want to go cows immediately or you want to even go eco upgrades right away. And right now he has to build units that maybe not necessarily are helping him in the game plan while Louis is already completing his second TC. So he's going to get huge benefits from it. So I feel like the tempo of the situation is pretty good for Louis. But of course, those are just minor skirmishes at the start, although they can actually snowball a lot. So we'll see. But I would say it's small edge for Louis, but nothing huge.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, oh, now the walls are coming in as well. Getting the walls in really, really early, I think is very, very good on this map. Look at him. He's walling the entire left half of the map as well, so really making it difficult for Lucifron to go for his aggressive playstyle. Actually, I think he's repositioning it so that he gets the boar inside of it as well. I would imagine that that's probably it. Maybe he just takes the boar right now and puts up the walls afterwards, because
Yeah,
he's
we'll
got 8
see
villagers there.
how greedy he's gonna get because he could also even try to secure the trade post. He could try to secure the relic, right? But then I always try to get too greedy with walls, and I end up walling on the opponent's side of the map, and then I get punished. So this is always a very tough call here. What to really do with that?
So far, 2 TC economy, scaling, 3 villager lead already. Lucifron definitely macroing up to the castle age. We got the second pit mine that has come in now.
Yeah, so this looks like we suspected. This is not a cow boom, so this is going to be Farimba. So this puts Lucifer heavily on timer because Farimba is actually quite bad economically, but obviously he's able to build a ton of units. With Lucifer's micro and abilities, he obviously will be able to apply insane pressure. So the second TC could be in big danger. I would imagine he's gonna push that location, and he may be even gonna break the boar. So if those two locations fall, then Louis is going to be basically back to one base in his main base and with depleted resources. So I assume Lucifer is gonna push there, and the question is he gonna be able to break those locations or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is there an outpost on the boar from Louis?
Yes.
There is an outpost. Okay, so he does have. He even has arrow slits on that one from the looks of it. So, yeah, he's gonna be okay. It is the Farimba garrison, as you allude to, and with it's gonna be the question now if he's gonna be able to push out enough, because that's like one of the main issues with the Farimba garrison is that you can only make infantry from it. Infantry, and especially since Malians, they don't get any armored infantry, it can be kind of tough to immediately push under reinforced structures. I guess the javelin throwers can sort of take that, do that, but it's kind of an issue getting javelin throwers out because they take a while to produce, even longer so from the Farimba garrison. Sure, you get like 5 every single batch, but it takes a while.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see. I don't even know what units is he gonna go for. I honestly have no clue. So we need to really watch it. He's upgrading immediately first unit. What unit is that? Okay, he's
That
going for
is, yeah,
javelin
this javelin
throwers.
throwers.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
very interesting. Yeah, I guess in low numbers, if the game is early Castle Age, javelin throwers are actually very, very strong. The only problem with javelin throwers is that once there is a huge number of units, it's very difficult to target fire each opponent's archer unit individually, right? So I would say that
Yeah, I have to
javelin
make like
thrower.
different groups. Yeah.
Exactly, yes. So Javelin Throwers is a very interesting unit in a way that it's extremely powerful at the start of the Castle Age or even in Feudal, but later on it quickly falls off. So right now, as I said, on top of this, the situation with the Farimba garrison, which already puts Lucifer on the timer, on top of it, he decided to use units that are also only good for a certain period of time. So this means that Lucifer has to win this game within a very short period of time, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely has to do so. Right now, Louis, he's 11 economy units ahead. He's also going up right now behind all of that. So the age up timing definitely not too delayed from him. Couple of javelin throwers. They are veterans. Do have veterancy, and they do have the +1 Pierce armor upgrade as well. Villagers go inside the outpost.
Yeah, and
Doesn't
the
look like
high.
it's enough. The javelins, they take a lot of damage still.
Yep, and the high trade house is coming very, very quickly for Louis. So he just basically went 2TC into fast H3. So this is extremely good economy for him. So he's behind only basically through production buildings right now. So he has to produce a bunch of buildings before he's able to produce the army. But with the way everything is set up, those javelin throwers are achieving absolutely nothing.
Can we take a look at the outpost next to Bor again? I think he also got castle turrets on that one. Yeah, he did. He did get castle turrets. That's why it did so much damage to javelin throwers. That was absolutely insane.
Yeah, so he really needs to go for basically double ram to break either of those locations. But the problem is that, oh, well, maybe not the problem, but he's taking relics, so that's one thing. So he's gonna be able to generate a lot of income from that, which is nice. But this delays potential rams or anything, so he still cannot really push. So all these infantry units are just staring at Louis' economy that is becoming more and more
this
insane.
is dangerous. Yeah, this is dangerous. Lucifron, it seems like he wants to take the outpost down now, but this one, not only does it have castle turrets, it also has the spring build placement. And look at it, it's doing so much damage right now to the Donzos. Now, there are a lot of Donzos. I think Lucifron's actually going to get that down. And with that, 8 villagers are going to be exposed. If Lucifron's able to kill them, that's going to be a heavy, heavy economical hit there. But Louis there with the man-at-arms.
That's huge risk from Lucifron, because if he doesn't manage to do this, he's gonna lose a lot of units. And on top of this, he's got zero units that counter man-at-arms. He needs very badly to switch into Musafadi warriors, and then there's even workers are healing the tower. So right now, Louis is absolutely defending this. GG, okay.
GG gets called. Like, not just did he only kill 2 villagers, at the same time, Louis also killed 3 villagers from Lucifron.
Wow.
And with that, I guess he was raiding on the opposite side. Lucifron throws in the tower. I mean, I guess he knows that at this point, it's over, because, like, Louis had him in checkmate pretty much. Lucifron just wasn't able to do the damage that he needed to do there. Those upgrades on the outpost, they actually changed the entire game. Like the javelin throws not being able to tank, that absolutely just changed the entire outcome of the game.
Yeah, I have to say that this was just expert play from Louis, right? Like, he just knew how to dismantle this build, and well, we kind of see why people play cows. This is how I exactly feel about Farimba, you know, like, yes, this is a very strong opening, you can apply pressure, but it just sometimes falls flat, right? Like, especially against Rus with the Kremlin, there would be potentially maybe more places to attack, but here there were none, right?
I agree. I think maybe if Lucifron went for some rams earlier, with that early push there, like we saw him go for relics pretty much immediately, like a monastery, and then an imam came out. If those resources instead would have been invested into like 1 to 2 rams, I think the push would have definitely been a lot more deadly. Musafadi warriors there as well. I think he also just lacked the scouting there. Like, we saw no real answer to the men-at-arms, so maybe he just saw those men-at-arms and was like, ah, damn, I didn't scout, I got blind countered, and kind of just accepted that he wasn't able to get Musafadi warriors out quickly enough. Now we see our next matchup coming in. It's going to be on Dry Arabia, and we're going to be having the Delhi from Lucifron versus Japanese from Louis MT. Japanese, that's going to be a very interesting one, especially on a map like this. I think we've seen Japanese usually like be mostly used on hybrid maps, or like they're very, very favored on hybrid maps like Canal, Mongolian Heights. Seeing them on a pure land map, I don't think that that's really their strongest suit here.
I agree, although I think they are underrated on land maps. I secretly think they are viable, maybe not the toppest of the top, but I feel like, especially against civs that are not cavalry civ, like the knight civ in feudal, I have a decent success with them in feudal, honestly. So, like on a Bugeisha or whatever the unit is called, it's actually secretly very, very strong if you manage to have enough tanking for it. They have 1 range, so that's actually quite huge, because most of melee units have 0.3 or 0.4, so that leads to a situation in which you just deal a way ton more damage. And when you compare the stats of that unit per cost, you will notice that the DPS of this unit is insane.
It is. It 100% is. It doesn't start off with a lot of melee damage, but with all the unique upgrades that the Japanese get and the Bannerman, being able to scale with the amount of attack speed that that unit has, it can get absolutely insane. And here we go. Game number 2, we got Louis MT playing in the color teal as the Japanese. On the other side, we got Lucifron in the color yellow playing as the Delhi Sultanate. Both players right now looking to get some sheep on the map. We got Lucifron with a little bit of a kill Johnny pathing, as I like to call it, immediately goes straight to his opponent's side there. And yeah, just going to be looking now for the sheep on his side. But the issue with this strategy is that either you get sheep or you get none. And in this situation, it looks like he's going to be getting very few. Louis MT already has got a good amount of sheep right now that he's collected. The one thing, though, that can become an issue for him now at this point in time is if he goes now into the others on the other side of the map, he might just be trailing Lucifron Scout.
Yep.
So while Louis MT already got 6 sheep, it could very well happen that he's not going to find a single another one if he just
Yeah.
keeps trailing Lucifer on Scout now.
Yeah, and so there is a reason why Kiljardi does this pattern. I think it's secretly very, very strong because obviously this is high risk, but it's also high reward. So quite often, especially if you know that your opponent prefers safer scouting routes, you can just steal his sheep and then he's gonna trail you, like you said, right? So and Luciferon, he doesn't shy away from risk, as we saw in the previous both with the sheep and also with the build. And I guess sometimes you just have to make strong moves to win games. That's at least his philosophy, which I guess, on the other hand, might make him a little volatile, right? We could, on one hand, Luciferon is considered one of the best in the world, if not top 3 easily. But the problem is that sometimes he is completely dominating and sometimes he is just fine, right? So maybe this is the reason why he doesn't completely dominate the scene yet, because of his high appetite for risk.
True, but I think it's a calculated risk in this case because he's playing as a deli. He's got access to the berries there at the beginning, so he definitely won't be shy when it comes to food. Now, age up coming in for both players. We got the Tower of Victory for Lucifer, probably the favorite landmark with the deli for the Spanish brothers, and the Kura storehouse on the side from Louis. And it looks, I feel like Louis probably noticed that he was trailing Lucifer Scout because look at what he's doing. Instead of going behind the base from Lucifer, he's going straight to the other side of the map, trying to get sheep there now. And look at that, Lucifer. Looks like the risk somewhat paid off. It's not as many sheep as he probably could have gotten if Louis continued trailing his scout, but it's definitely a good amount. 8 sheep, that is pretty much like the average that you can get on this map. So both players probably I think both players are going to be ending up on like 8 sheep. I'm not sure on the exact amount of sheep that there are on Dre Arabia, but I think it's like 16 out on the map. Either 16 or 18, I think.
Something like that. So I have to say, look at this. Like we've got the 3-minute mark. Nothing in theory really happening, but look at this, how interesting the path of scouting is for both players, right? Like most of people, they just kind of just scout around and just hope for the best. But these guys are so good that even they are fighting big time when it comes to scouting patterns, and they are constantly trying to get in front of each other. They are trying to think how opponent is scouting and adjust their own scouting pattern to that. I love it.
Yeah, definitely a lot of thought going into these kind of battles. It's like a kind of scouting battle there going on, as you said. Now, Ajab is coming in. We see the second scholar coming in for Luciferon, so it's going to have that little bit of increased rate at which his techs are coming in now. There we go. Ajab comes in immediately. All the upgrades are going to be getting queued now for the deli. Question's going to be now: is he going straight for a production building, a military production building, or is it first going to be a blacksmith?
Yeah, that's always a big question. I would say usually Luciferon likes to produce more units than less. So he rather delays the blacksmith a little bit in favor of having more units on the map, which is absolutely logical, right? Because I mean, when you upgrade your units, they are maybe 10% better. So until you reach 10 units, it's usually just better to have more units. But obviously, so we get stable here. So this already allows him to apply pressure, maybe push opponent off the gold, especially since gold is so important for Japanese. I would say the biggest question for me, biggest mystery right now is what Louis is gonna do, right? Because in current meta, it's very popular, like you said, to go fast castle with Japanese. But in my opinion, fast castle against Delhi is very problematic because of Ghazi riders, right? So all the Ghazi riders can still compete against armored units from H3. So what's gonna happen is that maybe fast castle is just not gonna work.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And now we see Louis opening up with his own stable here. But that could also be a problem because normal horsemen versus Ghazi raiders, that's a very tough matchup for the horsemen because Ghazi raiders, they're just that much stronger. Yeah, Louis also isn't on stone right now, so we don't see the daimyo upgrade coming in anytime soon. With that, he could further boost up his horsemen. You can actually go up to +4 damage on your horsemen if you get the +2 attack upgrades as well as the bannermen on them. And then they actually do fight better than the Ghazi Raiders because not only do they attack faster, 1.88 seconds per attack instead of 2 seconds per attack, but they also do more damage. Less health, though. But here we go. Ghazi Raider. The timing could be crucial here. Outpost is getting rushed up now. Does seem to be getting up now with 4 villagers on there. Second Ghazi Raider already coming in. And Lucifer just pumping out these horsemen right now. Won't be able to dive too long under that outpost.
Yeah, and this outpost is actually completely massive because right now it seems to me like Japan, there is no really place to attack it. So the question is, what is Louis planning to do with this, right? Because obviously this is 100 wood that is not geared toward expanding further. So this might give some map control to Lucifron. And in general, Japan starts a little slow. It doesn't have too many nice eco boosts at the start. So it feels like right now that Japan, that Lucifron might get the map control. And even though Louis is committing fully to units, he still might face Delhi with multiple sacred sites controlled by Lucifron, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, it's still very, very difficult, especially early on, as you said, to really like go up against the Delhi when